Hey guys, today we are going to be making out of clay, our air dried clay, an African inspired mask. So previously we learned about some African masks and how different tribes had different styled masks. And now you're going to get to design your own tribal African mask. All right, so what you're going to need is some air dry clay, which is sure to come with your supply pickup, a paper clip, a cup of water, and a paintbrush. All right, so what we are going to do, and I recommend doing this on a piece of paper or a folder of some kind. I think it helps you out. So to start off, we're just going to create a flat shape. So since this is air dry clay, we do not need to worry about air bubbles the same way we do when we stick clay in the kiln. So I'm just going to kind of make a ball out of my clay, roll it into a circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you have any cracks, you could just kind of smooth them out with your finger and then smush it flat on my surface. I'm going to try to make a shape for a mask that I like. So I'm going to try to make mine a little longer and flatten it. Now, these aren't masks that we can wear on our face. They are going to be too small, obviously. And I want to aim for about the thickness of the tip of my pinky. So right now that's a little bit too thick. I'm going to thin it out, hammer my thing down. You can have fun hammering it down, but don't make it too tiny, too thin. Thickness of my pinky. That is our goal, thickness. All right. Once I have it about the thickness of my pinky, it's time to shape my mask. So to shape my mask, I like to create like a more pointed chin and a rounder forehead for my masks. I can leave this over here for you guys to take a look at. And to do that, I'm going to take this paper clip. This is going to be our cutting tool for this project. So all I have to do is slice these extra bits away and save those for later because we're going to use them. Slicing these little bits away and coming up with a shape that I like for my mask. Make my chin a little pointier. Maybe I want to round out the head a little bit. Perfect. I like this shape. All right, next I'm going to create eyes on my mask. This is going to be the only shape that we're really cutting out of our mask. So I'm going to take my paper clip and I could stretch it out. Now I have another little cutting tool. And I can go ahead and cut out any eye shape I like. I'm going to do like little half circle shapes or little moon shapes. I'm going to try to scrape it up a little bit. It's kind of hard to pick up, but that's okay. Our clay is pretty wet. That is good. You can even pick up your clay piece and kind of scoop out those eye bits. Bits of clay that make up the eye. All right, I then like to take my paintbrush. You do not have to do this. And I can go in and kind of smooth out the shape, define it a little bit more. I think that makes it a little easier. All I'm doing is kind of shaping it with my paintbrush. I'm not going too crazy. We're not trying to ruin everything that we have so far. Just kind of reshaping it a little bit. I find that helps me out. So once I have a shape that I like for my mask, I'm going to leave it. So one thing that we talked about briefly in class is that if I want to create any features to add on to my mask, I have to do something called slipping and scoring. Slipping and scoring. So like if I take a look at this nose and these eyebrows, and if I wanted to make my own little triangle nose to stick on my mask, if I was to just take this chunk of clay and push down on this mask, it would pop right off as soon as it dries. So I want to do something that is going to be a little bit more permanent and not just roll right off once my clay dries. In order to create a permanent fix on our clay when we are attaching something, we need to do that slipping and scoring. So to do that, I'm going to take my chunk of clay in my paper clip and create little scratches or hashtags in it. Scratching up my pieces of clay. I'm going to do the same thing to wherever I want to connect that to on the face. Now I'm not slicing my clay all the way down to the bottom, right? I'm only going a little bit into the clay, nothing too crazy. I'm just trying to mark it. Next, I'm going to take my cup of water. There's a little bit of clay at the bottom of my cup of water, so I apologize. It looks pretty gross. I'm going to take a little bit of water and put it on my nose and a little bit of water and put it on the face. Now, when I push this to the clay, it's going to create a permanent bond. Works like clay glue. It's kind of amazing. Now I can just smooth it out. You could use your paper clip or the back of your paintbrush to help smooth out your clay. I like to do that, kind of create a little pinch with it. And now it's on there for good. I can't knock it off like I could before. So I'm going to do the same thing and add some eyebrows, I think. So I'm just making a little snake out of clay, breaking it in half, and I'm going to do that same slipping and scoring. So I'm going to slip and score the eyebrows, just drawing little marks to loosen up the clay. Doing the same with these eyebrow shapes and adding water to both. Now when I attach my little eyebrow, it will stay right on there. All right, so this looks pretty crazy right now. We want to smooth it out so it creates this nice mask shape. And I also have it a little bit domed. So when we're trying to clean up our mask, I could use my paintbrush. So I like to use the back end of the paintbrush to smooth things out. You could use your hands to smooth shapes out. The paintbrush works really well. And we're going to use a little bit of water as well. We're not going to use a ton of water because your clay will get very soft, but it really works well to soften up the edges. If you use too much water, you're going to start losing paintbrush bristles. You're going to start getting really mushy clay, and we do not want that. I'm going to smooth it out, come up with a shape that I like. I can smooth out the edges of my clay with some water, smooth it out with my hands as well, and it will look very nice. Take some time here to smooth out and get your clay exactly the way that you want it right now. So I'm kind of liking the way this is looking. I might have to go in again, clean up those eyes again, but that's okay. I think next I'm going to add some lips. So now if you would like to cut a hole for a mouth to make a mouth, you can. You could slip and score some lips. I'm going to do something even simpler. I'm just going to kind of stab this with a marker or a pen. So you could use other tools that you have at home. Just kind of poked a hole, moved my paper or my marker around a little bit, and I could take away this little piece of clay that's left over. Once again, I'm going to kind of reshape that. Now my little guy's got a mouth. Perfect. All right, so also included in your bag was some pieces of twine. We could use that twine to create some hair on our project. So that's what I'm going to do next class. But for today, we need to create some holes to add some hair. So you do not need hair. If you want to add earrings like I did, you could do that. If you want to add a beard, you can. If you want to add, I don't know, some random things coming out of the cheek, you can. So my next step, to make those little holes on the forehead like I have over here, I'm just going to poke the end of my paintbrush into my clay. I want to make sure it goes all the way through so that I can be able to stick some twine in there. Tie a knot. If it gets flattened on the back, go through it again. Make sure that you can still fit some twine in there. Perfect. Just like that. All right, now, if there's any other designs I want to add, like some of the masks we looked at had some cool designs on the face, I can go ahead and do this now. So I'm going to go ahead with my paper clip, and I think I'm going to add some stripes on my face. Now, I'm not slicing up my beautiful project that I've worked hard on. I'm just creating some additional designs, just like this. And I'm doing up the forehead too, just for fun. Add little dots. So you could use your tools you have to make some interesting designs. All right, final step. If we want to make this curved like this one, you could do one of two things. You could either take some paper towel or a piece of paper and ball it up and stick it underneath your project, kind of drape it over. Or I just kind of curled mine in. So I stuck my fingers. Once it was fully made, I just kind of pushed up the middle section. It's going to take some scooching around. Then I kind of push it against my table, and I just push the sides and the top down so that it's lifted off the table ever so slightly in the middle. And you can see I'm already getting that curve. And just pushing it up in the middle and pushing the head down, kind of scooching everything together in the middle. And that gives me my little rounded shape. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep cleaning this up until I get to a point that I really love it. And then I'll be all finished. So you guys can go ahead and do this to your own clay mask. You can make any design that you would like. Feel free to get creative with it. And when you're all finished, we're just gonna let it dry, and then I will see you next class. All right, guys, have a good day.